Well, thank you for the Buddhism in Prison Canada inviting me to speak about my experience in the prison. Chris actually gave me a topic about the challenges and rewards in volunteering for Buddhism prison chaplaincy, actually. But today I'm going just to share my experience in the volunteering in prison. And of course, within this context, you will probably pick out which are the challenges and which are the rewards. So you do it yourself, okay? So let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm a fully ordained bhikkhuni in the Mahayana tradition. In 1992, and I founded the Poland Buddhist Association in Chilliwack, BC in 1994. So I've been here in British Columbia, Chilliwack, British Columbia for 30 years. So we just completed the construction of the meditation vihara, which you can see on the slide. And I want to actually clarify that I'm actually not a Buddhist chaplain. Actually, I am a volunteer under the umbrella of Buddhist chaplaincy, or umbrella of chaplaincy in prison. I started volunteering in 2003. It was actually just a very rare coincidence. One psychiatric nurse actually came to Poland to do an interview with me on Buddhism. She was doing a paper on Buddhism. So after the 1.5 hours long interview, and I said to her, have you ever tried meditation? She said, no. I said, would you want to try? And I invited her to actually stay for an hour meditation, which was very cruel, I think, to start off with an hour right away. But she did. She stayed and she really enjoyed it. She really found it calming. At that time, she was already working at CSC as a psychiatric nurse. And after she left, and then after a couple of weeks, actually, she called me up and she said, "Sister, I'm going to actually set up a peer caregiving program, like a healthy inmate looking after sick inmates. Would you like to come and teach them meditation?" I said, yes, of course, because with caregivers, I always advocate a very strong practice of meditation, because it helps a caregiver to deal with the stresses, difficulties that they encounter when taking care of a sick person, whether it's inside a prison or outside the prison. So that's how actually it started. So I went into this program and traveled around the whole province. Actually, at that time, I think she intended to do 6 prisons, but because of the time, I could only did I think 4 out of 6 prisons. So the first one I went into to do this peer caregiving program was a minimum prison in Mission. I've never went into prison. I didn't know what prison was like. So I had this, perception of prison, like those are really bad people, and all this coloring of prison in my head, which I think is very common, among people who don't actually understand what prison's like. I was a little bit early, so I waited in my car in the parking lot, and I actually noticed that my heart was beating fast, and my face was all blushed, and I knew that I was nervous. And thousands of thoughts come and go. But anyway, at the time when I went in through a couple of gates, not as many gates as in the medium or in the maximum security, but still it was a new thing for me. So we checked in, and I got a pass, and I went in with this good friend of mine now. We went into the chapel, and I saw 12 guys already sitting there with prison uniforms. And the thought just came to my mind, oh gosh, what am I going to say to them? So, and then I started to introduce myself. And I didn't use my real name, I used a fake name. Really not a fake name, it's a nickname that I call myself. I said, I am Sister Jessie, which I always use that nickname when I teach children. But anyway, I said, I'm Sister Jessie. They said, is that your real name? I said, no, that's my nickname. They said, nickname? Why did you use a nickname? And they laughed. They said, you should use your real name here because it's a prison. You cannot use a nickname. Because in prison, you always have to use real name. I said, oh, but the real name is so difficult for you to remember me. I want you to remember me. So I use a nickname. Jessie is so easy to remember, right? They laughed and laughed and laughed. With that laughter, you know, it's so strange. That laughter just instantly dissolved all this stress and anxiety that I carried when I was walking into the prison. And that experience was so immense. And after the peer caregiving program, my friend actually invited me to actually start teaching in the prison where she works. It's a treatment center, Pacific Treatment Center, Treatment Institute. We call PI in short. Then started once a month, and the guy said, no, once a month is, no, you need to come in more often. Then twice a month? Then they said, no, twice a month is not enough. Could you please come in more often? Then I started going in every week. So the only slot that we had was Thursday evening, when the guys do not have any programs, when they did not have to work. So we got that free slot. I call it free slot. Nobody wanted to go in the evening, right? Especially in the winter. So I started teaching meditation since then. And at that time, my friend, I call her V, and another friend called A. V and A actually volunteer to stay over time to be with me, either one of them. So at that time, they stayed with me, so I felt okay. So one time they called me before, I think 4 o'clock. They said, sister, I cannot stay with you tonight. And A said, I need to go with an inmate to the hospital. I can't stay with you tonight, but we have arranged the psych chaplain to stay with you. I said, that's fine. I'm okay, as long as somebody is there, because we have a lot of restrictions as a volunteer. Restriction to have keys to open up chapel, and restriction to actually access to the phone to test the PPA, the personal protective alarm. That thing is called right? Yeah, the PPA. And so I said, as long as there is somebody there, that's okay. So when I walk into the prison, PI, I saw the psych chaplain coming out. I said, Father, where are you going? He said, I'm going home. I said, you're supposed to stay with me tonight. He said, oh, don't worry, you'll be okay, you'll be fine. So, you know, I was there already. What can I do? Am I going to disappoint those guys and not going in? At that time, I think I was too courageous. I went in on my own. And then, so strange, normally we would have about 8 to 12 guys. That night we had 14 guys. And one of them was really big and strong. I think he must be 6'7", 6'8". I was like a miniature person to him. When I stood there, I looked at him like this. I said, oh, you've never been here, right? He said, no. I said, you know what we are going to do tonight? He said, yes, meditation. I said, yeah. you're going to stay for 2 hours? He said, yes. I said, okay. So I said, okay. So you could sit over there. I put him right away from me because I felt very uncomfortable. I felt very uneasy. So I put him right across, very far from me. And the guys that I know really sat quite close, at least 2 arms length from me. So then, after they all had to sign in when they come in, and then after that, 2 hours, no hiccup, nothing. So the next week, V and A were there. Both of them were there with me. So I showed them. I said, last week we had 14 guys. Wow, that was a big achievement. They said, wow, wonderful, right? So they look and who was here, who was here? I said, this guy, they call him the big chief. He said, you kidding me, sister? Big chief was here? I said, yeah, big chief was here. He said, their jaws just dropped. He said, were you okay? I said, I'm still standing here. I said, what happened? What's wrong with the big chief? He said, well, he committed very gruesome murder in very short time. Killed quite a few, I think three people or 5 people, I don't know, within a very short time. I said, oh, no wonder I felt what I felt. I said, don't worry, I'm here. But I'm safe, I said. But since then, I thought, no, it's nice to have a partner. It's nice to have a companion to go with us. So we started a prison volunteer team in 2011. So that was that took quite some time. And in 2011, we had about 6 to 8 people in the group, and we take turns because I used to travel. So when I don't travel, I would go in, and then the other volunteers would just chip in. So that was great. So with that volunteer team, we started to run the program with an intention of bringing meditation into the prison. Firstly, to help guys to tame and train the wild mind. A lot of guys actually committed crime because of a lot of anger. When the anger was not being aware and not being controlled, a lot of times it would actually manifest it into actions, causing them to commit, crimes that they never thought they would commit. So regular meditation classes were being held since 2011, every week, every Thursday night from 6 to 8. And we were lucky that actually we were very fortunate that we were approved by the administration to hold a one-day meditation retreat every other month from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And we were able to go and get their lunch. They specially requested vegetarian lunch from the kitchen, and our volunteers could actually go to the kitchen to get hold of those lunch and brought it back into the chapel. So those guys who actually signed up to come for the one-day meditation retreat, they never had to go back to the range to be counted. Officers would come in to count. And throughout that whole experience, we actually started to see a lot of guys actually started to change. And even some of the officers actually respected that place and respected the activity a lot. Because when they come in, they used to come in banging the door and beeping their card. But when they knew that it was actually meditation, they sort of tiptoed and tiptoed and tiptoed and closed and counted like from a distance. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that we could actually started seeing the respect from the officers and also from the guys. Why was this inspiring? Because I think some of the officers actually started seeing those guys change. And they actually applaud what we were doing. I remember many times I went in and I would bump into one or two officers. And they would say, "Oh, sister, you coming in again for the benefits of for the guys." I said, "Well, I think for the benefits of us also, you know." And from what they actually expressed, we knew that they actually sort of pick up the positive changes of those guys. So that's why they sort of applauded what we were doing. Were actually beneficial for those guys. So with all these experiences I had, and also with the input from the volunteers, and also throughout all these 21 years of serving in the prisons, I actually had written a book. It's called Break Free. And it is in the process of printing right now, but it won't be available on sale online because it's just like published by the nunnery. But if you are interested in getting a copy, you can write us, and we could actually send you a copy on a donation basis. So. With this book, actually, it recorded a lot of the comments from the guys about their experience with meditation. And so the first one is to tame and train the irritated and agitated mind. I would like to share with you the comments from the guys. Is they often become very calmer and peaceful and more receptive and compassionate and trustworthy. And the guy said going to a prison actually gave him a privilege of working on himself, both physically and mentally. And he said, "Now I am learning how to fix the anger and emotions." He used "fix" as quotation. Anger and emotions inside of myself. I know how to stop punishing myself. When I can do that, I don't always take the anger out on others, which is great. And he said, I have a little more self-control and starting to like myself a little bit more. So it's actually bringing mutual benefits to the inmate himself and also to the people around him, because he doesn't easily manifest his anger in his negative bodily or verbal behavior. And the second intention of us teaching meditation is to hopefully to help the guys to correct and change their behavior, the habitual behavior, like taking out anger onto others. And by recognizing it through awareness and in these meditation retreats. And during the meditation retreats or during just the normal weekly meditation classes, sometimes when, excuse me, when we were meditating and there were like loud announcement or people, walking by the chapel became very rowdy, we could see this tinge of irritation in those guys, right? They sort of like became antsy. And some of them actually, I remember actually a guy pour a cup of coffee onto another guy, like this. And I thought, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And the other guy was just, take a deep breath. And at that time, I immediately said, take a deep breath and come back to this body and be aware and be calm And there's nothing you can do to the outside environment. You cannot control others, but you can control your behavior. So that guy poured the coffee. I don't think he actually knew that he poured coffee. Actually it's out of a habitual reaction. Didn't like the noise outside. He turned that sound into a noise, which actually became very irritating to him. So whenever he had irritation, he just reacted. So he poured the coffee over that guy, and that guy was just like one chair from him. And that guy, after hearing my instructions, so I could see him starting to take a deep breath and starting to calm down, at least calm down for moments of one deep breath, and then 2 deep breaths, and 3 deep breaths. And that actually smoothed out the whole, what can I say, possible altercation, right? Possible altercation between 2 very strong individuals. If something happened in the chapel like this, and if there were altercations, I needed to push the PPA. That will be the end of our volunteering. And it could be also very stringent penalty to those guys. But I was very relieved that actually it was just being smoothed out so fast, just within like this. So it wasn't easy, but it wasn't always like sweet and sound like that, okay? Sometimes it could be difficult. But in the last 21 years, I have never used a PPA. Never. Because as the volunteers put into the sharing, is that they felt that actually we were being protected by those guys who constantly come every week. They would, when they come in, when they come into the chapel, they would go in and check here and there, because other inmates would come into the chapel, to the toilets, to stash drugs, to exchange things. But those guys whom we know, they would just come in. Sometimes they would stand between us and the new guys. So we knew they were doing it in a very a discreet way to protect us. So one time, those guys asked me, are you scared if you come in on your own? I said, no. I said, why? They asked me why. I said, because I know you guys will protect me. They nodded. They said, yes, we will. Because you are doing such wonderful things to us. You, not just me, actually the whole volunteer team. I can't take all the credits because they work really hard. And also to develop a sense of security, safety, and grounding the mind in these classes by developing this strong mindfulness and then help them to walk away from troubles and problems. I remember one guy, I call him Mr. T. So those who know me, they know Mr. T very well. Mr. T was a guy with all these tiger wrinkles when he first came into the chapel. And, but after he actually stayed and experienced that 2 hours meditation, he stayed with us ever since. But one day he was late, so he came in with a pair of slippers. That was not the dress code in the prison. When you attend something, some program, you need to dress up in the prison clothes and put on the runners. But in the evening, a lot of times officers don't care. They don't mind. They are a little bit more lax. But that night, Mr. T came in with a pair of slippers. And he was at the chapel door outside. And we were standing inside the chapel door, ready to greet them. And I saw an officer out there talking to him, and he was like boiling in anger. Then I went out, I said, what's going on? And the officer said, oh, he's not going to go into the chapel with that pair of slippers. And Mr. T, trying to argue back, he said, I have always come in with a pair of slippers. I said, T, you go back to your range. Go back, change into a runners, come back next session. Go back to your range right now, right now. And he looked at me. He looked at me feeling very agitated. He said, sister, you're not on my side, like something like that. I was on his side. I was on his side. I said, go back. He said, okay. He walked back. He walked back to his prison, to his range. And then he came back next session in runners. So they knew that, you know, if they have that awareness, that mindfulness, they could walk away from troubles. And Mr. T was transferred to Saskatoon. And one thing I said to him, I said, I'm going to give you something which you hopefully remember throughout your life, is everything is none of your business. And he said, what? None of my business? Everything is my business. I said, none is your business. It's none of your business. You just walk away, okay? And he looked at me and said, okay, I will try. But up until now, whenever I talk to him on the phone or video call him or went to visit him, he would say, sister, everything is none of my business. I walk away from troubles so many times, remembering what you told me. I said, yeah, better late than never, because he had made some serious mistakes. That's why he's now in Saskatoon. But anyway, so with that awareness and with the right kind of actually advice that was suitable to them, if they remember, because mindfulness entails not just awareness, it entails remembering at the moment. So if they can remember, you know, what they have learned from us, and if they could use it at that moment, that could really help them to walk away from all of these troubles, which could actually could cost them many more years in the prison, sometimes. And to help them to develop a sense of grounding, safety. One of the buddies, I call them buddies, he said, when I'm picking out passages from my book, he said, when somebody elbow me, and instead of shuffling them away, I said to myself, stop, go to the chapel and go meditate. And he said, when I'm here, I do not feel that people would bully me, would belittle me. Everybody is equal. I'm so glad that I have a group of men who treat everybody equally. And I feel safe, I feel secure, I feel equal in this group. And in the prison, this is a very, very positive feelings, which you don't see very often. And why? Because in a prison, it's a mode of survival. It's really not it's not really to live the life, it's to survive. And especially in maximum security and also some medium security prisons. We used to, before COVID, we used to go to 6 federal prisons and 1 provincial prison, so 7 prisons altogether. So in these prisons, especially the max and the medium, we saw a lot of this survival mode in the inmates. So when they can feel being safe, being protected, being respected, is a really rare positive feelings for them. And it could be so nourishing and supporting and encouraging for many of them. That's why in our group, we had about 12 people constantly returning, constantly coming back every week. And some of them always ask themselves, why did I keep coming back here every Thursday night? Why? Why did I always sign up for the one day meditation retreat? As soon as the sign-up sheet is up, their name is on. They are afraid that they missed the deadline. And they ask themselves, why? They said, because I felt so much safer. I felt so much happier and so much freedom. Freedom, but they are incarcerated. But freedom in the mind. Even though they are not free physically, they are bound up by this physical prison. But in the mind, they feel free. And one guy in the provincial prison, which was like heaven, right? It was like a resort, like deep in the mountain. You can see the snow, and they walk around, and they have pizza days and all that. I said, wow, this is a prison. When we first went there, we said, wow, and the officers were so nice and handing them candies and all that. Wow. But one guy, after a couple of hours meditation, he left the chapel smiling. When he returned, I said, forgot his name, I think it started with J. I said, at the end we shared, I said, you had a smile when you walk out when we walk out of this program building. He said, I had never felt so light in my life, as if I was like a snake shedding the skin. All the scales came off. I felt so light. If I would have learned meditation way before, I don't think I would end up in here. I said, well, never know. But because you're here, you learn meditation. If you were outside, you may never encounter meditation, mindfulness meditation, or the Buddhist teachings at all, right? So to transform the mind and experience a sense of gratitude and freedom is actually, it was like a jewel to them. And Mr. T, when he first came in the first night, he walked in, boom, 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 boom. I felt like there was a fireball throwing onto me. I said, ooh, this is the guy with a lot of anger. And I said, oh, I haven't seen you before. He said, yes. I said, what is your name? He said, I am T. I said, oh, Mr. T, you coming in for meditation? He said, yes. My program officer, my psychiatrist, my nurse, my doctor, the chaplain, everybody said they have nothing to offer me anymore. They asked me to go and test Sister Jessie's meditation class. Test it out. I said, oh, that's going to be a big test to me. And he said, so are you a nun? I said, well, obviously I'm a nun, Buddhist nun, right? You haven't met one before, right? He said, no. So are you going to teach me Buddhism? I said, not necessarily. So are you going to convert me? I said, convert you? No, I'm not going to convert you. He said, really? I said, no, I'm going to convert you. He said, what do you mean? One time you said not converting me, now next second you said you are going to convert me? Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm not converting you from one organized religion to another organized religion. But I'm converting you from an unhappy person, from an angry person to a happy person, from a very reactive person to a very aware person, from a stingy person to a generous person. I said, that is the true conversion. That is the true transformation. And he looked at me with like big eyes. Oh, something that new to him. And he stayed ever since. Oh, it's over 10 years now, right? More than 10 years. Yeah, more than 10 years. I've known him more than 10 years. So this transformation doesn't come easy, but it comes with hard work. And you can see from this picture, it is actually a stained glass artwork, which was given to us in 2013. Mr. K started meditation with us, or with me, 2007. At that time, he has been incarcerated for over like 3 years, 4 years, for a crime that he claimed he did not commit. And he was a lifer. And no more like appeal, nothing. So he got very upset and stressed out. So he read a lot of books. He could read like 2 books, 200 pages a day. And I said to him, Mr. K, why don't you write your experience in a book? Write a book about your own experience in the prison. And you said that you haven't committed a crime. You can put it in your book. And he said, oh, I never thought about that. I said, yeah, you should. And he actually wrote 2 books. And I read one of them. And then one day he came in with a big folder with pictures. And it's all stained glass. I love stained glass. I said, wow, where did you get all these pictures from? He said, I made these stained glass pictures. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, wow, that's nice, beautiful. I love stained glass. He said, I'm gonna make you one day. But that was like many years. And it was Christmas time. I think it was 22nd of December. We went in, and they always appreciated us to go in on festive days. I know the volunteers that we have in the team, most of them are a householder. But I told them, you can celebrate festive days with your families, a day before, a day after. But these guys are all alone in the prison. Weren't able to see the family, weren't able even to talk to their family. I said, if we go in, we are just like family supporting them. So our volunteers are great. They said, yes, we should go in, we should go in. So we always go in, no matter whether it falls onto Christmas Day or whether it falls onto the 1st of January, we always go in. So that was the 22nd of December, and Mr. K said, sister, this is a gift for you. Is that like all wrapped up in paper? He said, what's this? He said, oh, well, this is your pass to take it out of the prison. And I opened it, I was stunned to see this piece of artwork. It's almost 3 feet by 4 feet. It's a stained glass, and you could see that there was so much hope in this artwork. And he wrote a letter to me. He said, they can take away everything that I have in my cell, but they cannot take away the love that I have for others, for my friends, for you, and for my family. And they cannot take away the love of the friends and others to me. He said they can take away anything. They can take away, they cannot, they don't have to release me if they don't want to. You know, CSC sometimes have a very peculiar system. They keep people on and on and on without releasing some, I think it's over 30 years for a lifer. So I'm not commenting about that, but you know, and Mr. K said they can take away my release, but they cannot take away that love that I have for people and the love that people have for me. That was such a strong statement. And you can hear from that statement how calm and strong Mr. K is. Now he's on parole in the East Coast now, just a few months ago, right? Yeah, after all that year, over 20 years now. So it's not easy, but they could really transform the mind to have this sense of gratitude and freedom. And lately, since last September, we started going into, being invited to go into the medium to actually hold a Mandarin speaking group for Chinese inmates, Chinese speaking inmates. So I actually started that group in Chinese, but now some Caucasians said, oh, we wanted to come for meditation. I said, yeah, you can stay for meditation, but you don't want to stay for the second half, because the second half is Chinese calligraphy. You can see this picture. I bring in the Heart Sutra calligraphy. I bring in brushes, Chinese ink, plates to hold the ink every time we go in, and they copy the Heart Sutra. And we recite the Heart Sutra and copy the Heart Sutra. And this activity, we don't have many guys. We only have 4 Chinese guys. One has just recently been released into the community, and we still have 3 Chinese guys. But every time when we started copying the Heart Sutra, we can actually feel the whole chapel is filled with tremendous calmness and gratitude. And what else do you feel?
It's very grounded, very peaceful.
Grounded and peaceful. Yeah, I have some students also here today sitting with me. Some of them are actually prison volunteers. So yeah, grounded and peaceful, and gratitude, a lot of gratitude. And they said they actually, with this copying and reading the Heart Sutra, help them to reconnect to the roots, the culture, the Chinese culture, the roots and all that. It's a big thing that they can actually reconnect themselves back to their roots while in a prison. And so it's really not easy, but it can be achieved. So this reconnecting actually helps people to appreciate what they have in the prison. And one guy in the Max said, I am glad that I am in prison. Have you ever heard that? I'm glad that I'm in prison, because I have done a very, very bad crime, but I'm glad that I'm in the prison, and I'm glad that I encountered the teachings of the Buddha and the teachings of meditation. And in the prison, I don't have to worry about, going to work. I don't have to worry about cooking my food. Everything is so routine. I have plenty of time. I'm going to make full use of the time that I'm here to actually help myself to gear up myself to face the outside life when I'm released. So there are a lot of different experiences, of course, and we once actually went into the treatment center to for a bathing of the Buddha ceremony, and also the transmission of refuge and precepts. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys actually took refuge. I think 8 guys took refuge, and 2 or 3 guys took the 5 precepts, right, in the prison. I mean, we witnessing this in the prison actually inspire us that with a little of compassion, everything can work out. Little more compassion, everything can work out in a very different way. And with a little bit more support, we can actually rehabilitate these people in a very different ways. I mean, locking them up is already a punishment. Within the punishment, we don't need any more punishment. But it seems that our system here is about punishment, and more punishment, and scary punishment. We were once very scared. Me and Eva were once very scared. We went to the range to look for a guy at the max, right? We were scared. We looked into the central where there was an officer holding, was it a rifle? A rifle, holding a rifle, pointing to the range. I saw it, she saw it. We were upset. We were very sad. But we know that there is nothing we can do. So we just kept telling ourselves is we just have to keep trying, keep going in there when we have this opportunity. So and also we're always called upon to actually do some special cases like end of life care. There was one grumpy old guy. When he first came in, he was so grumpy, so angry, and he always sat far, far away from everybody. But he was Christian. Every Thursday night, he would come in, first person to come in, and then he would stay after to the Bible class. And all the one-day course, he was signed up. I think in 2016 or 17, I gave a TED talk on prison. And I brought in the newspaper to show them, hey, I'm going to give a TED talk about prison. What do you want me to talk about? He said, there's nothing to talk about. This is what it is. He was so angry. I said, okay, don't worry. I'm not going to talk about you. But gradually, he changed over time. When he was dying, actually, he asked us to go in during COVID, 2 years ago, 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. I think in August, it would be 2 years. He asked us to go in to actually tell us that he left all his inheritance to us, which we never received, not even a penny. But it doesn't matter. But the intention was wholesome. And when I was there, I said to him, should we meditate? He nodded. So we meditated a bit. And I said, do you want me to read you some Bible passages? He nodded. So I read him Psalm 23. And he felt so calm. Then I said, do you have any more unfulfilled wishes? Which I know that he had. He nodded. I said, is it this wish that you wanted to be released into the community before you die? He nodded. I said, well, you know, it comes when it comes, and it's not up to you. And he nodded. So we kept going in. I think every week we went in to see him for a couple of weeks. Then the next time we went in, the nurse said, oh, he's gone. I said, what? He died? He said, no, he got transferred out. I said, wow, we're so happy. We would never believe that nurse actually gave us the hospital name where he was transferred, because they were not supposed to. So I hope I didn't get that nurse into trouble just by telling about this. But anyway, we got the hospital name. We went to see him the day he was transferred in the afternoon. And he was so happy that he saw us, that we were there. And I said to him, now you're out in the community, in a general ward. I said, you're out in the community. That unfilled last wish has been fulfilled. You still have any unfilled wishes? He said, no. I said, are you ready? He nodded. I said, good. So anytime if you're ready, just big smile and carry in your heart a sense of gratitude and mindfulness. And he nodded. I said, we have to leave now. And goodbye. He had one drop of tears, just one drop, and he said, goodbye. No sound, because he was very weak. Goodbye. I think the day after he passed. So transformation of such angry, grumpy individual who was incarcerated for most of his life. He was 70-something. He was incarcerated on and off and off, on and off for over 50 years. At the end of life, he could just let go of everything and just be at peace. It's not easy, but it could be possible. And we also offer community support. Inmates on ETA, escorted travel, or UTAs, unescorted travel, to come to Polam before COVID. And after COVID, it hasn't resumed yet. Hopefully, we will be able to resume that sooner. And also one-on-one counseling. Sometimes the one-on-one could be very difficult, but it could be very, very rewarding. And at the time now, I am actually counseling a one-on-one basis every week, and I could see the body actually was so much more relaxed and so much more upfront and trustworthy, and trusting us to his really inner feelings. And even the parole officer really said that, wow, you have come a long way. So that with that support, is very possible that people could change. I agree, some people needed to be incarcerated, but a lot of them needed to be rehabilitated. So going back to talk about our one-day retreats is, since 2011 up until COVID, beginning of 2020, we held 44 retreat days. And Mr. K actually attended 42 retreat days. 42 out of 44 is almost 90% attendance. And every 3 retreats, if they have attended 3 retreats, we will give them a certificate like this. It's not something fancy. It's not something that they can use it as a pass to leave the prison sooner. But it's actually recognizing their efforts. And every time at the end of the class, we give them, at the end of the retreat, we give them, call their name out and give them this retreat, that certificate. They were so happy, and they collect them. They put them in a folder. They collect them. and which is, I think, is a recognition of their own effort, and actually is a very strong support to them. So these retreats, I think, give both the volunteers and the inmates a great learning lesson. And a lot of times at the end of the day, we would sit in a circle and share. And I'm always the last one to share. And I always share the same thing, is thank you guys. I'm so glad that you are here because you gave me hope. You let me know that most of us can be a better person as long as one is willing to try, as long as one is willing to practice. And since I think 2017 or 18, we started actually doing 9 weeks programs in the provincial prisons, including the teachings of the Buddha. And the first 9 weeks is the eight mindful steps to happiness, talking about the noble path. And the second one is the Mangala Sutta, teaching them how to, live their life. And at the end of the 9-week program, they always also get a certificate like this, and also get a book of Dhammapada. And one time we've done the certificate giving on week 8, and week 9 we went back for a summary, a recap. And at the gate I saw an officer that said, "Can you give me one of your Bibles?" I said, "Bible? We don't have Bibles in the Buddhist teachings." I said, "Bible?" I said, "Are you really talking to the right person? I'm a Buddhist nun." He said, "No, you gave those Bibles to those guys last week." I said, "Oh, the Dhammapada." I said, "Okay, I'll give you a Bible next week." So I passed on a Bible, a Buddhist Bible, which is the Dhammapada, to one of the officers. And the guy said that he was so happy that he received a Bible from me. So the guys, actually, the changes in those guys, whether in the provincial or in the federal, actually inspire not just us as volunteers, also inspire some of the officers who are softer, who are more compassionate, and I think because of that inspiration, actually keeps us going for 21 years. It is not easy, but it is very, very rewarding. And the challenges, some of the challenges that we face is, of course, we don't get much support. Financially, we don't get support at all. And we don't get paid because this is not our intention to get paid. But it's not supported by staffs, including sometimes the officers, sometimes even other staffs. And sometimes for the one-on-one counseling, it could be very challenging emotionally because one is exposed to some very difficult crimes. And if a volunteer or somebody who works in the prison like this, if they don't have this kind of self-care, it could be very, very difficult at times. And also, we are very short of volunteers. That's why actually we weren't able to actually resume some of the services that we used to give before COVID. So anybody in Vancouver area, if you would like to volunteer, please let us know, and we would see if you are fit to do so. We do actually receive a lot of gifts from those guys. Material gifts like the artwork that you saw, and also feathers like this. Mr. K made, I think, over 200 feathers for me, for Polam, before he was released into the community. And we just got it last month. This is not very fancy gifts, but these are the gifts that I'm going to use to give to those people who have supported our prison services for a long, long time. Because we travel to Saskatoon, and that entails a lot of expenses. So a lot of actually my students actually supported us financially to do so. So I think a little gift like this would be very meaningful to them. So, of course, you know, there are endless difficulties, there are endless challenges, but myself, I always see those challenges as opportunities to learn how to let go of my own views, of my own attachment. I remember one time, one inmate hasn't come for 3 weeks, and wow, I was boiling. I was worried, and at the end of third week, when I left, when I was on the way out, and he was waiting for me in the courtyard, he said, "Sister, I'm okay. I just was in a lot of anger. I didn't want to come into the chapel." I said, "The more anger you have, the more you need to come into the chapel to meditate with us." And he said, "Okay, I'll come next week." And after that, I said to myself, no, this is not right. There is a very strong attachment there, expectations of these inmate buddies. I said, this is wrong on my part. I need to let go. I need to learn how to let go. So now they come, I'm happy. They don't come, I'm still happy. You know, that is one way to actually put the Buddhist teachings into practice. So any challenges, I hope that, you know, or anybody who work in the prison or who do this kind of work could actually turn them into opportunities to appreciate the teachings in a deeper sense, and it could be very, very beneficial. So you have heard a lot about my experiences, and it sounded like that we did have a lot of wonderful experiences and not many challenges. But as I said, we turn the challenges into opportunities. And we have learned in a hard way not to actually expect, and learn a hard way to learn how to let go. Because if we don't, that causes a lot of worries, anxiety, and stresses, which we don't need. The life is already full of those things already. We can do without them. So, and also, I always constantly remember and also constantly remind my students is that when we serve them, when we go and serve them, volunteer, remember, they also need all the right conditions to be able to come and meditate with us. If they come and meditate, and if they don't use it in their daily life, that's the thing. It's none of our business. We cannot expect them to do what we want them to do. So don't disappoint yourself. This is my talk, and at the end of all the meditation classes that I always give, a lot of times I ended up in this ending is, I will tell the guys, turn your prison cell into a meditation cell. Convert that cell into a meditation cell. And be a master of your own mind. Do not let these reactive behaviors become your master, and you become the slaves or the prisoners. And inside the prison, you can be free. And I wish every one of us will continue to live outside our own prison. And those who work in the prison have to bear in the mind. Compassion always heals. Mindfulness always calms. And corrections, changes, and transformations are always possible. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Carrie.
Sifu, I remember one day I was upset finding out the horror of a crime that one of the inmates had committed and feeling uneasy about going and
Yes.
just being so genuine and
Yeah.
compassionate
Yeah.
toward him.
Yeah.
And you said, don't let it hurt you.
Hey, yes. Yes.
Would you like to speak about
Sure,
that?
yeah. Carrie is here in person. He said she remember one time she found out a horrific crime committed by an inmate, and she said going in with such a genuine and compassionate mind, she found it a little bit difficult, and she came to talk to me and said, "Don't let it hurt you." And she wanted me to elaborate a little bit on that. Those are the burdens of the inmate. And you found it out because there's conditions for you to know, you know? And you don't have to carry that burden on you because it's not your burden, right? So that's why turning the challenges into opportunities and help you to actually start to see also, wow, such a horrific crime. And could we help them to change, to become a more compassionate and better person? Would they have those merits to continue to cultivate this awareness, this mindfulness, and eventually to come out of the difficulties, you know? I'm counseling one person, also not a very easy crime, very horrific crime. On the first visit, I didn't expect him to tell me this, but he was very upfront, he was very trusting. He told me the whole crime and the difficulties that he was facing. And at the end, I'm not a saint, I'm not a sage, so I also carry some of the emotions onto me myself. I felt very heavy, and so when I walked out of the prison, I told Eva, I need to go to the river because I need to walk along the river to, you know, because water to me is healing. So I need to be aware and just sit there and just to contemplate a little bit and just keep on being aware and not let that emotion hurt me. And now it doesn't hurt me anymore by seeing him. And actually we develop a very strong connection. And it's amazing to see how that actually changes him, how that actually helped him.
There is in the previous talk,
Yeah.
monk from
Yeah.
Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So he has a plan, a proposal to CSC
Yeah.
to build a halfway house.
Yeah.
In
I heard that. Yeah.
And it's modeled after the Indigenous Healing Lodge
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that. That was very encouraging, very inspiring. I wish it could come true. I mean, it's such a big difference between me, us as a volunteer, than the chaplains. Chaplains, they have more resources, maybe not enough according to what they say, and they have a little bit more power whereas we don't have any power at all. We don't have any resources. Like sometimes when we went into the max prison here, we always had to serve at the mercy of our dear officers. Sometimes we say, oh, well, you know, those guys actually registered to come to the chapel at, say, 9 o'clock. We would be there at 8:45, getting ready. So during movement time, we would tell the officers, yeah, well, those guys are supposed to come and this is. He said, okay, you go back to the chapel and wait. So we will go back to the chapel and wait, and with a big key like this size and lock the chapel. And then we would wait many times. We would wait and wait and wait, and past movement time, past announcement time, still nobody appeared. And then we would go out and say, oh, officer, you know, those guys haven't come. Oh, you passed movement time, you go home. Oh, yeah. So we spent 45 minutes to go there, and then spend 45 minutes coming back home, 1.5 hours without seeing anybody. It actually happened too many times that we got quite fed up. And then we were really not being supported by the site also, and so we thought since they have site chaplains, so maybe they could do without us. So we quit going into giving classes in the chapel, but we still continue to do one-on-one visit on Friday morning at that time. So sometimes it could be very disappointing, and it could be, it's sad to see that it happened in such a society, because it's supposed to be, you know, forefront and democratic and supportive, and us going into as volunteers, volunteering our time, our energy, and our knowledge and our experience for the benefits of these beings who are in deep water. But yet, it wasn't appreciated. I don't expect people to come and say, pat on my shoulder and say, oh, sister, you're well done, and, you know, great work, keep doing that. No, we didn't expect that. But we expected this kind of work to be encouraged and supported, because you see, if there are more people doing this kind of work, how much money would CSC save? They don't need to build so many more prisons. But yet, I don't want to use that word, but it's a big B. And you know, and it's a shame to see that us human beings have such wonderful qualities, and not being able to use them to the fullest. And especially, we as Buddhists believe that we are all the future Buddha, right? And we have this innate compassion and wisdom. Why can't we just help them to unveil those qualities, right? Cecilia.
I just want to say a few words, like, as a half insider of the system, I also feel the frustration. And at the same time, the fact is, in the institutions, there's always short staff. Not only short staff, also there are always short space. Even for people, social worker who wants to deliver programs, like me who wants to interview inmates, we always find it very difficult, not only seeing the person, but also finding a room to see them. And well, especially during COVID, and a lot of video calls is taking place, so inmates to be brought to a specific room to the camera, and every time that happens, they need 2 correctional officers.
Yes.
So whenever there's a short stop, everybody got locked into the cell.
Yeah, don't go.
So,
No interview, right?
yeah, no matter what programs available,
Nope.
no matter how you wait,
Yep.
they cannot come out.
Yep.
So it's full of frustration. So
Yep.
to me, whenever I go, in the morning, even before I leave home, I'll give them a call. Is there lockdown? If they go,
I know. I know. Yeah, lockdowns. Yeah, I know.
out of our control. It's not
Yeah.
just to you, but to a lot of people who wanted to go in to provide some service.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know.
resources short of staff is constantly a problem for
Yeah.
a long, long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I know.
all challenge. I can feel your frustration.
But well, now I just laugh it away and say, okay, there's so much we can do, so much we can do, and make full use of the opportunity to do whatever we can, and just walk away with a big smile, because there's really no point of getting angry and getting frustrated, because that hurt us, that hurt ourselves so much, and by hurting ourselves, we cannot do wonderful Dharma work. Right?
Keep trying.
Yeah, just keep trying, it's just keep trying. Yeah. Well.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much for letting know Yin Kit. We have 2 more minutes to 3:30. Any last comments before we decide?
Oh, you have? Oh, Radhika. Yeah, we have somebody. Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to thank Sister Jessie so much. I'm using your nickname
Using my nickname.
because it's wonderful, and you really inspired me. I've always wanted to do something to, help. I'm mostly out of Chilliwack. That's my problem. But when
Yeah.
I'm here, I try to come.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful, and I've also at times had the same challenge of where I have tried to do something and it has not been welcomed.
Yeah.
And I use this blessing, and I use it, and I think it helped me. And I just would like to share that with you all.
Yeah.
And I just say for myself, but for anyone, may I have the serenity to accept that which I cannot change,
Yes.
the courage to change that which I can,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the wisdom to know which is which.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I say that many times when
Okay.
I'm trying to do something
Uh-huh.
and I'm facing roadblocks.
I see. Okay.
But,
Great.
I really was inspired by the work that all of
Thank you.
do.
Yeah.
I would like to
So yeah, Radhika, who is attending in person, she said she also faced roadblocks sometimes, and sometimes she get upset, but then she started using it as a blessing, and say that may I have the serenity to what? Accept
that which I cannot change.
accept that which you cannot change. Yeah, that's wonderful. Great. Hi, Stefan. Okay.
Yeah, hi, how are you? My name is Stefan, and Cecilia is our worst half. She's my better half.
I see. Oh, nice.
Someone's got to be good and kind and compassionate, and we're all good. Anyways, I've been involved in some capacity working in the criminal justice system for over 40 years.
I see.
I guess the good news is that in Scandinavian countries like Norway,
Yes.
the rehabilitation, respect, and compassion is more present than it is
Yes.
in North American prisons.
Yes.
And as you know, it's a prison culture, it's retribution and stuff.
I know.
And respect is the big thing that's missing in the lives of these inmates, and that's often why they end up in trouble. So I think your hard work, your excellent work, makes a difference. And with time, hopefully, North America will come closer to the model that exists in Scandinavian countries, where there's more rehabilitation, where they treat the prisoners like human beings, not like animals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nelson Mandela said, you judge a society by how they treat the criminals, not the richest people. So
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Uphill battle, but I think it's important. I think it's very much appreciated by those who take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
kudos, good work.
Thank you, thank you. Let us all continue to keep our hopes high and make full use of our energy for the benefits of ourselves and for others. Thank you.